What's good, y'all? My name is Dylan Green, and this is Real Notes, a space dedicated to blurring the cultural and artistic lines between rap and film. I'm here to chop it up with everyone from rappers and producers to journalists and video directors about their relationship to movies and how, if at all, film inspires their craft. My guest this week is singer, rapper, and designer Lucille Ghatti. We spoke about Run Sweetheart Run, Monique, horror movies, Song of the South, Cleopatra, Elvis, singing in the choir, her musical journey from the blog era to now, the pros and cons of being ahead of the curve, her relationship to plugg&b, and the creative process behind her latest album, Tears of a Clown, produced entirely by Popstar Benny. Come fuck with it. What's cracking, everybody? Welcome back. Real Notes. Fucking, it's March. It's Women's History Month. We're out here doing all sorts of fun shit, talking to cool people, not being weirdos. Don't be a weirdo.
Don't be a weirdo at all.
That has like 14,000 different like connotations and meanings, but just don't be a weirdo. My name's Dylan CineMasai. I got a lot of names, do a lot of shit. I'm nursing a not enough sleep last night headache, so my voice is a little deeper than usual. I guess that's fine. I'm cool with it. But we got somebody very, 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 very special on the show today who this has been a very, very long time coming. Fantastic singer.
Thank you.
Fantastic singer, got a really cool pink and bedazzled background. Y'all can't see it, but you know, everything looks cool. Got a really crazy album called Tears of a Clown coming with Popstar Benny pretty soon. So your name is Lucille Ghatti. You go by Lucille Ghatti. Okay, because I know you have like 5 other names, and I meant to ask you off camera, like, should I call you Lucille Ghatti? Should I call you Iman? Should I call you Six Sabbath? Like, I never know, but Lucille Gatti's here.
Yes. So Iman is my real name. Lucille Ghatti is my R&B personality, and Six is my rap shit.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, man. So, yo, thank you so much. Like I've already told you like 8 times, but it means the world that you wanted to be here. So thank you for wanting to be here. And I just appreciate you so much. Like,
oh, thank you. I appreciate you too. I'm a huge fan. I had to get me on one of these. Had to get on one of these. It's only right.
Oh man, that means the world. It's so weird to hear people say that, but thank you. It really means a lot. You send me shit pretty often, and I love everything I've heard. I was re-listening to the breakup a couple days ago, just like to prep for this, and like, yeah, it's been crazy to see the growth, and Tears of a Clown is really dope. Like especially considering that everything like you've done and everything Benny's got going on. Like he just dropped University, and University's great. So but I'm so happy to have you here to talk about movies and like growing up and dumb shit. So let's do that. Let me ask you the first question I ask everybody who comes on here. What was the last movie or TV show you watched that you had a strong opinion about?
Okay, so yesterday I watched Run Sweetheart Run.
How did you like it?
It blew me, but it was also really, really good. And I also watched Monique's movie. What is it called? The Reading?
Oh shit. I haven't seen The Reading yet.
Yeah, The Reading is good as hell. That movie is so good. Like top to bottom. It really like I never seen her perform in that light where she was like a more serious actor. It's actually a horror. And I love horror. Horror is my shit. I love the scarier, the better. And to see her kind of like put herself in that role and be like fully immersed in it was really mind blowing. It was really like, damn, you just made me laugh. So it's really cool. It was really, really cool. Kind of inspiring to see her take a leap of faith on herself. Now, Run Sweetheart Run. The girl was being chased by a werewolf. And everybody she knew was setting her up. Yeah, that one. That one it's like a nightmare in my head right now. It's like
Yeah,
a
because I won't even lie, I haven't seen Run Sweetheart Run yet. I've heard like a little bit about it, but like just looking at it just now, it looks tight. And I didn't realize The Reading was a horror movie either. And Monique's definitely never done one of those. So to hear that she's like, because yeah, I know she has her Netflix special coming really soon.
right.
And like we all know the story behind her getting like the whole Netflix shit, the whole Chris Rock Chappelle shit. But I'm just happy that I'm happy people are finally putting a nice like dollar sign on her name, because she's fucking Monique. She deserves it. Like,
Yo, this movie, she deserved everything because she really did that. I feel like it's always interesting to see certain actors who've taken like a certain lane for a majority of their career
yeah.
um surprise us with some different shit. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm sorry, this is a spoiler. She killed everybody in that bitch. She often like a true G. So she got my respect a lot from that role. I recommend it. Go see it, guys, if you haven't gone on to see it. It should be on Amazon Prime. It should be other places too, but please see it. It's really good.
That's hard. I almost want to ask what your favorite kill was, but I don't want to spoil anything. If you don't want to, you could tell me if you want. Like I'm gonna watch it regardless. But
Okay. So my favorite kill was the my favorite kill was probably the first kill. And when you see it, you'll know why. But the first kill um was it was just like she had a lot of her character had like so much fun killing these people. That's what made it good. It's because she made it funny. Like I can't describe it, but she made it funny. She had like it was like she wanted to do this. And Loki, you could just see like through her character, like she probably feel like this about a whole bunch of people in her life, and she was just taking it out in the acting situation. So the first one was real good. Um, all the other ones kind of broke my heart a little bit, but
mm-hmm.
I always say, an actor does their thing when they make you hate the character, like when they make you hate hate them. I always
Yeah.
say that they killed the movie when they make you feel like that. And I'm not gonna lie, she made me hate her. She made me hate her in the movie. I was like, bitch, why are you doing this? But like I said, she did her thing. So and she was picking them off. She had weapons, guns, knives. She was picking them off, chasing them through the house, locked them in the house. She had that. It was just fire. It was just fire.
Damn. So is she like a slasher? Like, is she fighting
Yeah.
against somebody? Oh, okay, okay. Yeah.
No, she's the fucking like murderer. Like,
Damn. Okay,
yeah,
that's kind
like
of hard.
yeah, she was the murderer. And I think she had set up a situation. She had killed her whole family, pretended like she didn't.
Ooh.
Yeah, and then had a medium come, and the medium found out, like, okay, you was lying, you did this, and then she was like, oh, well, now it's time for all y'all to die now too. So,
Damn.
yeah, the role where she killed her family was definitely the way they had it set up was really unique too. I'll say that too.
Mm-hmm.
So it was
Damn.
cool.
All
I
right. No,
know, right, Monique? Kill it. I know.
yeah, no, yeah, no, like you said, she's never really done nothing like that before. Because like she's done like dramatic roles. Like, we all know her from like her, like the first one that comes to mind is Precious. Like she won an Oscar for Precious. Like
Yeah, yeah.
I went back and rewatched it. I think she might have been the best part of that movie. It like not even in the sense that like the rest of it was bad. That's just a heavy fucking. It's just a really sad movie. It's just really, it pulled on me in ways that very few movies do. It just really hurts to watch that movie.
Yeah, that's what I said is when you feel like when you hate the character, that's how you know they did their thing. I hated everybody in Precious. Like I hated everybody in Precious. And I remember my mom called me after she seen Precious and um, she was like, I just want to apologize to you for yelling at you so much because I saw Precious and it made me feel like I talked to you there. I said, whoa, 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 whoa. You don't scream at me like that. I was like, calm down. I was like, you're taking this
Right,
too hard.
like
This is not that serious, mom. Like, you are not that lady.
Right. Yeah. No, that's so wild though. You know, like it's just like the guilt we could kind of put on ourselves, like especially like through movies, because like where there are times where like I'll watch a movie with like a chauvinistic or like just really like fucked up and inconsiderate like man or like a male presenting person in it, and then everyone and like I'll see some shit that I feel like I do sometimes, which maybe I do, maybe I don't. I don't really know. We're all changing and trying to be better people. But like but like I'll call my girlfriend and just be like, yo, like I'm really sorry. Like I just saw this and it made me really think about some shit that I might have done. And it's always just like it's always just that. Like it's not that deep. Like please stop.
Yeah,
Like
like
you don't gotta,
yo,
but it's just so crazy how, you know, like it's so crazy how we see ourselves, and like especially compared to the way people see us, and how that kind of gets reflected through movies.
yeah,
Like it's
it is.
weird, you know.
It is crazy because I'm a Cancer and I get emotionally attached to movies real fast. So I be up in here crying. I really do. I cried to Benjamin Button, uh, Forrest Gump, but I think everybody cries to Forrest Gump. I don't care. I think everybody has.
Yeah,
I be crying in the movie, so I get emotionally attached, so I can understand. But then at the same time, I'm like, it is. Oh, the Sex and the City movies I cried to. I don't know what that's about, but I be crying every time. It never fails. Any movie where I feel like I guess relate to the feelings that are going on. Yeah, I'd be in tears.
so what is it, so what is it about horror you love so much? Because I love horror too. You know, I don't want that to seem like it's like an interrogating kind of question, but I'm curious because like everybody, I feel like everybody loves horror for different reasons.
I love horror because I love seeing the victim, like, just might sound fucking crazy, but I love seeing the victim like get their look back. Like if there's ever
That
a
doesn't sound
horror movie,
crazy at all.
yeah, that's it. I love seeing the victim get their lick back. I'm a huge fan of like underdog shit. Of people like that don't like that are not expected to like succeed in certain situations, or like you know, I don't know, keep their life. And that's really why I like it, because I like seeing somebody overcome something so difficult and get they lick back. If somebody's trying to terrorize them, antagonize them, trying to murder them, and then they don't succeed. That's why I like horror. And I also like horror because I'm a fucking gangster. So not playing.
Let's go.
So it brings out my inner like, yeah, like I'm like, get him. You know what I'm saying? Like I'd be really excited to see some stuff. Yeah. So yeah, that's really what it is. And then I also really love how intricate the plot lines are, like how intense the writing is. I love that about horror. Like it takes a lot of thought to sit there and come up with some stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? I feel like most people can do a rom-com, or most people could do comedy. I'm not saying those things are easy either, because they're not, but
Right, of course.
it takes a real weirdo, real weirdo. You know what I'm saying? A lot of nightmares for somebody to be coming up with some shit like that. So I'm a fan of that shit for sure.
That's hard. I you saying all of that made me think about, you see the Evil Dead remake that came out in 2013.
No, I didn't. I did not.
So so go watch it. It's crazy.
I will.
Um, it's the woman at the center of it. She was she played Mandy Milkovich in the first season of Shameless before she got replaced, and like she's the person who gets possessed by the Deadite, and she's just kind of, you know, like they bust out everything. They get the Necronomicon, they read the shit, the Deadites come and possess them, and then she just like she manages to, she's like the Ash character. She's like the Ash Williams character this time, where like she fights the Deadite off and gets it out of her body, and she winds up killing a bunch of them, and like she ends the movie with the chains. Like it's like I only seen it the one time it came out, but I loved it just because of
Okay.
like that specifically, with like the whole Like I think the very first Evil Dead and the new one, because there's another one coming out in April that I'm really hyped to see. But
Uh,
I really loved the Evil Dead movie specifically because of like the person who's just able to get their lick back from the fucking undead, and it's like do it in like a creepy like this newer one, because it's almost a decade old at this point. It's not new, but like this one was like because like everybody was like really into like torture porn back in like the early 2010s, and like it's kind of like
right.
a torture porny spin on Evil Dead, which I like that type of shit if it's done well. And this one was done really well. It was made by a guy named Fede Alvarez, who I believe did the Hills Have Eyes remake too. I might be
Okay.
confusing him with somebody
I've,
else,
I've seen that one.
but
It sounds
yeah.
like Spit on My Grave. You seen Spit on My
Oh
Grave
yeah,
franchise?
mm-hmm. Classic.
Those, yeah, those are good too. Yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna check that out because it sounds like I'm gonna like that one.
Yeah, not yeah. I don't know if it's on a service. I hope it is, because um it before we move on, I was just having a conversation. I feel like I have a conversation about this all the time with like whoever I'm talking to about movies. Like I can't remember the last time I physically went on to like an Apple Music or like an iTunes, or not Apple Music, or like iTunes or like Apple TV Plus or whatever, and like bought a movie. Like, and it's some
Oh,
and like some what?
I was gonna say I just recently did that.
What was it?
Okay, so it was two movies. I follow this girl on YouTube, Karina Lourdes. Shout out to her. She's a cinephile like you, and she
Hey.
reviews really weird old movies. And she kind of is like, "Why was this made? I don't know." So she had me intrigued about two movies that were gross as hell, but I just had to see them for myself because I just needed to know who the fuck would make this and why they would make this. I bought Pretty Babies, which they should be fucking locked up for ever making that, with Brooke Shields. And what was the other one we watched? We watched Gone with the Wind,
Oh.
which they should
Was
be
that your
locked
first
up
time
too.
seeing it? Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, they should.
yeah, they should be in jail. I don't understand. Um that one, I get the fashion is insane. It's gorgeous, but the what, like, Pretty Babies, actually I had to buy it for $3.99, so that was the last one I got. And that one, I don't recommend anybody watch it ever in their fucking life unless they want to be grossed out from the beginning to the end. Brooke Shields, I don't know why you went through that. I don't know why your parents did that to you. But I'm sorry. That's all I will say.
That's harsh. I gotta go. I'm gonna go look into it because my curiosity just takes me
Yeah,
there. But no, I only say that because it sometimes feels like if a movie is not on a streaming service, it might as well not exist. And then I
right.
think about all these great movies that I've seen that like aren't on a streaming service, and people don't know where to find them, and they're usually buried on like a YouTube or like the purchase on Amazon Prime, or like on like Apple TV or some shit. And I'm just like, and I'm just like, hey, I want people to pay money for shit and buy it and make sure that good shit gets, like the money to keep getting made. But like I just wonder, like, I mean, like I know why, because like licensing, and it's a whole process to get shit on streaming services. But there are
And
just
some
some
of them,
times where I like,
they're just fucked up. That's why, because
yeah, that's
they're
it.
just outdated in the thought process of thinking. And I feel like if they were on streaming and people had more access to see some of those movies, yeah, it would probably be cause a controversy as well, like bigger controversies.
Definitely, because like like you'll see people put up older movies, and they'll like put up the title card at the beginning. It's like, hey, this is made in a different time. A lot of this shit's not okay anymore, but like enjoy it if you want. Like
Yeah,
I almost want people to do stuff like that more often, just to because like there's some stuff that's like really gross and fucked up that's like kind of important, but like obviously not everything's like that. It's all case by case and all that
right.
shit. Some shit doesn't need to be seen ever again. Some shit doesn't need to be seen ever again. Like,
Yeah, okay. My nephew just got here. Sorry.
no, you're good.
Okay, we're good. But yeah, I do definitely feel like there's certain things that like certain things need to go out with the wind. I know that's
Yeah.
a terrible what you call it, but certain, and also too, like I also feel like some of the streaming services that are like out now too, as far as like when their choices of certain movies, I feel like they're also really out of touch with what people like really also want to see sometimes as well. I don't know if that makes any sense.
It does.
I do feel like they're extremely out of touch, and I do feel like the people working there really like should. I do a little bit more like analytical research as into like what people, and there's a lot of historical films, that's what I mean, that they purposely do that. They keep them off of like certain sites so that way like you can't go back and see the history, see certain movies and see like what they were doing.
Like Song of the South. Yeah. 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 Disney will never ever release Song of the South.
I'm
We all
telling
know
you,
why. Like
I'm telling you, that's low key how it was for Gone with the Wind too. Like it was just one of those things where it's like I like I and it's on Disney. It's supposed like it's a like you have to buy it from them. And I was like, it's one of those things where it's like y'all made it. So what are you ashamed of? You know what I'm saying? Like if you made it, then it should be here. But they know better. And what is that movie
yeah.
you just said? Because I'm gonna go watch that.
Which one?
Song of the South.
Oh yeah, Song of the South. That's
I'm
the
gonna go watch. I'm gonna go watch that.
yeah, you're gonna have to go dig. Like it's not on any service. You might be able to find it on YouTube somewhere, but it's like
Daily Motion.
Disney buried that shit. Like it was it's the movie with like the fox, the bear, and the rabbit, and it's the movie that Splash Mountain at Disney World is based off of. But the one
Oh
that
my
yeah,
gosh, you lying. They
nah,
they they have a whole ride based off a movie that we can't see.
yeah.
And I love, wait a minute. And oh my God. I love, sorry, my bad. But I love that ride.
Yeah, me too. But like the whole thing. So like not to dwell on it too long, but yeah, Song of the South was the movie itself is like narrated by this like stereotypical like black dude named Uncle Remus, and like and it's just like him reading this story to he's a slave, and it's him reading this story to like two white kids, and like the characters are like Brer Fox, Brer Bear, and Brer Rabbit, and like the only like the only things that Disney puts out about the movie are the animated parts about the fox, the bear, and the rabbit, because those aren't like fucking racist as shit. Like Zippity Doodah is from Song of the South, which a lot of
You're
people don't.
lying.
I'm
You're
so dead
lying.
ass. I'm so dead ass. Like
Oh
it's
no, no, I gotta see this. I gotta see
and
this.
and
I got
and and like and it's funny because they re-released it, I think, a handful of times over they did it like maybe 3 or 4 times, and every single time people could protest it because it's racist, like to the point where, like in Gone with the Wind, they didn't let Hattie McDaniel go to the premiere of the movie. They didn't let the guy
right.
who played Uncle Remus go to the premiere of Song of the South when that came out either. And Disney's got plenty of skeletons in their closet, and like it's yeah, it's wild. Go look into Song of the South and find it. If you can find it, you let me know, because I can't find it. So
I will
like
try to find it. I daily motion some of the movies like that. That's probably, to be honest, that's kind of how Pretty Baby is too. But Hattie McDaniel, I have a love-hate relationship with her because I do feel like she did open a lot of doors for black actors. And I do feel like they're like, I'm not saying that the roles that she chose were like, you know what I'm saying? But at the time,
I get it.
because she chose the roles she did, she made more space. She was like the sacrificial lamb, in my opinion, for
Yeah.
other black actors to get into the academy and certain roles and stuff like that. So I have a love-hate relationship with her because she really is a great credit to our race. She really is. And I would never deny that. However, the mammy trope.
Yeah, it's complicated, man. It's such a oof.
But
I'm
I
with you.
also feel like
I'm
at the
with you.
same I feel like at the same time it was true. It was historically accurate. You get what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
I'm not saying it was, and I just feel like they should not be ashamed of the history. You get what I'm saying? Like, I don't know how to describe it, but I just feel like they should not be ashamed of the history, considering that they did it. The hell, this is
Yeah.
what happened. Like,
Yeah.
they shouldn't, you know what I'm saying? I think a lot of
Yeah.
us like didn't want to be depicted in that way because we wanted to step away from what happened, because it was
Right.
extremely traumatizing for us as, of course, Black people and women, very much so. And I do think that with Hattie McDaniel, they used her to be like, well, she's blah 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 blah. But at the same time, like, I love Dorothy Dandridge to death. I love Carmen. I love all of that stuff. But I just feel like a lot of those roles would not have been open had Hattie McDaniel not done what she did.
Oh, you're totally right. It's you know, like it's just like it's just a perfect example of two things can be true at once, you know, like she opened doors, but she also did it by, you know, you could say the same thing about the guys who did Amos and Andy too. Like they
Yeah.
opened doors, but you know, like it's you know, like they, you know, like they put forth a bunch of wild stereotypes that, like, however accurate they may or may not have been, like, you know, it's just complicated, man. It's rough, but like we have to acknowledge all of it, you know, like the good and the bad. Like we can't just push the bad to the side because
Yeah,
somebody did some good shit, you know, like.
yeah, we can't. We definitely can't. And I just think that, like, it happened. So pretending like it didn't, like, happen is, it's like, I just feel
Right.
like it's kind of a part of critical race theory. Like, I think that they need to see that it happened.
Yeah.
You get what I'm
Yeah.
saying? They need
we
to
need
see
we
that.
we need to know our history, you know, like we need to know where shit comes from so we can, you know, like either work to improve on it or just make sure that it doesn't happen again if it was bad enough, you know, like it's like having that context is so important. We can't just like pretend that it didn't happen. I agree. I definitely agree.
That's why I do feel like a lot of us need to be educated on, like, there's even like we just talked about earlier. I had never seen Gone with the Wind before. Like, I heard about it, but I didn't know what the fuck it was about. And
Right.
in the movie, they do try to gloss over slavery, and they try to gloss over what happened. And
Hmm.
that's also very, very important for us to see too, how their attitudes and their behaviors toward, um, you know what I'm saying? Like, they made slavery cinematic. How do you make slavery cinematic? Uh,
Yeah.
how do you make it fashionable? They made it fashionable as well too. Like, how do you do that? It's
They
something
made it
that's
look
really,
cute. Like it's like it wasn't cute. Like, you
it
know,
was,
like.
and also made it seem like they were tolerable. You know, one of the main characters, he's what, he's nice to Slade, quote unquote nice in the movie to them. So I had never seen that. I had never seen that movie, but once I seen it, it definitely opened my eyes to how they viewed their position in quote unquote slavery or whatever. I call it human trafficking, but that's another story. But it was
Yeah.
like, I, I do feel like we need to have access to shit like that. I do feel like that it's, like I said, with that role with Hattie McDaniel and Vivian Leigh and stuff, like, that shit was really, really important. Like,
Yeah.
you can't erase it. You can't get away from it. It's just there. I think actually Gone with the Wind should be something people see in school. I do. I really do. Because they need to see both sides of, you know, and there's also a scene in there where, and, and this gets on my nerves, where um slavery is over, and that's subjective because it's never really over. But
Yeah, no, I get what you mean. I get what you mean.
there's a scene where after the war, they're in town and they're explaining to Black people what's about to happen. And they were saying, you get your 40 acres and a mule. And I'll never forget, I heard one of the Black actors, he's like, gee golly, like, they made him sound so like we are just like in there. And a lot of the roles that they played, they were all like, yeah, like, gee, I just don't know, and da 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 da. And like, as much as that irritates me, like, I had like, I just feel like it was necessary for me to see. It definitely
Yeah.
just was necessary for to see
Yeah.
what.
On some. Yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh no, you're good. I was just gonna say what roles they had to take to get their 15 minutes in the movie.
Yeah. Yeah. Nah. Yeah. 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 And just on some like this is how they saw us back then type shit. You know, like.
Yeah. And
You know,
also another one that I think is actually kind of underrated for this is Cleopatra with is it Elizabeth Taylor?
Elizabeth Taylor. I still never seen it. I just like.
That is good as hell. And one thing I was actually shocked is there are actually so many Black actors in that movie. There's a whole lot of them. And that's another movie that is also, when I seen it, I was thinking that it wasn't historically accurate, and it turns out that it actually was. And it that we over here talking about old movies, but it was extremely historically accurate in my opinion. And there was a shit ton of Black actors in there. Like even if they were like the, you know, Egyptians, even if they were like the performers, there were a lot of them. And that's another thing too, because we're kind of always taught that it was hard for them to get roles and hard for, you know what I'm saying, for them to be active in the industry. But when you go back, you kind of could see that we were extremely active and extremely active in the industry. Like we definitely were in a lot of these movies. And I think that's another reason why it's harder for us to gain access to them too, because they've always perpetuated like it was so hard. And it was very, very hard for us. But they also did hire a lot of us too, because come on, we the best performers, we the best dancers, we get down. So they needed that. You know what I'm saying? So you have to see Cleopatra. It's fucking 3 hours and 50 minutes, but it's worth every minute of it. It was really good. It was really good.
Yeah, and on top of that, it also, you know, like like a lot of Black actors and actresses and performers were cast because they were trying to fill specific roles. And you know, like obviously I'm still kind of, if not even iffy, I've always just kind of been off put by the fact that they got Elizabeth Taylor to play Cleopatra. I don't know if I'm ever gonna get over that, but I do want to see it just to say that I did, you know, like
I don't know this, but it's accurate. They were actually, and I actually found this out at the Met, that by that point when Cleopatra, they had not been Black in Egypt for centuries at that point, because the Greeks, the Macedonians, and the Romans had overtaken it. So they had not actually been Nubian for like centuries at that point. The last Nubian king or queen was Queen Tai, and that was like BC, way before Cleopatra, Nefertiti, and all those people existed. And that's something that I didn't know. I wasn't aware of actually how it was, but it is accurate. It was very European at that point. They had came in, and they had I think it would have been wrong for Cleopatra to be any browner. Like it would not have been accurate, because she was not. She actually was, I believe, of, don't give me the line, but either Roman or Greek descent. She was.
I'm gonna have to look into all that myself, because I didn't know any of that.
Yeah, I didn't realize that before, and then I went to the Met, and they have like a whole. Maybe we should go. They have like a whole, you know, Egyptian part of the museum, and they let you know when the Greeks and Macedonians and all of them came in, and that was something that I was also not aware of. Now, as far as keeping Egyptian culture alive, or I wouldn't say alive, but I would say as far as taking what was Nubian and you know, making it their culture, they very much so did. That is definitely something that they did. So that's why you see in the movie, if you get a chance to watch it in the movie, you'll see that they actually respected ancient Egyptian culture a whole lot. But even now today, Egypt is very much so, they are very much so not Nubian. I'll just say that. But it is accurate. Elizabeth Taylor did her thing too. She did a thing. She made me really like her after that movie. She made me like her so much, actually.
I'm gonna have to look into all of that some other time when I get the chance.
Yeah.
Well, what's it called? What was I gonna say? Oh yeah. So let's run it all the way back with you, like to the very beginning. What's the first movie experience you can remember having? It could be at the theater. It could be at your cousin's house, wherever.
Fox and the Hound. My dad, RIP, he drowns me out by telling me my favorite first movie was Fox and the Hound. I used to run around the house imitating the characters, and I had all of the stuff, the little merchandise from it. that's like the movie everybody calls me. They'd be like, "Oh, it's Fox and the Hound" in my family. Like they remember that. And ironically, I don't remember that movie at all.
Damn.
I don't.
You don't remember the movie at all?
No, not at all. Now, my first favorite movie is A Little Princess.
Mm-hmm.
I loved
Wow, yeah.
I loved A Little Princess to death. Like that movie actually is a great movie on manifestation. It teaches you how to manifest things into your reality. Um, and that's what, when I was little, it taught me to expand my imagination and to kind of like, um, I guess, go in with the make believe, and whatever you make believe can come to fruition. But I didn't understand it so much at the time. And that when I got older, I watched it a couple times and I was like, oh, that's why I like this movie, because of it was a Power of the Mind movie. But yeah, that one had me in a chokehold for years. Little Princess had me in a chokehold. That was my first favorite movie experience I can remember.
That's so cute. Cause like, yeah, cause like that, because like I've seen it a few times when I was younger, and it was like stuff like that and like The Secret Garden, like
Yeah.
those like those types of movies that are very much about like a, just like living a fantasy of some kind. And yeah, like they are about manifestation, like especially like more so The Little Princess than The Secret Garden, but they're still kind of on that same wavelength,
Yeah, I
which I
would say
like.
they are. I think I seen The Secret Garden after I saw A Little Princess. And I believe The Secret Garden reminded me a lot of Narnia, like Chronicles of Narnia.
Yeah, right.
It reminds
Definitely.
it reminds me exactly of that kind of series. But yeah, I think The Secret Garden I watched like a little bit after that. So I was emotionally attached to that one too. You just unlocked a memory for me with that one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
Because you just said Little Princess, and like I just thought like, oh, like they're both kind of like about like not real worlds that people go to escape from the other shit, and it made me smile. And I also thought about you ever read A Wrinkle in Time before?
I have not, but I've heard of it.
They made Ava DuVernay made a movie, turned it into a movie, I think maybe about maybe like 3 4 5 years ago at this point.
Mhm.
It wasn't very good, but I grew up like I read the book in school, and I really liked the book. So I was always really curious to see like what it would be like if they made it into a movie, because it was like the whole Wrinkle in Time thing is about like this, like it's about kids who they like travel through time by like how do you describe it, like the Wrinkle in Time is them like wrinkling into themselves, and like they time travel, they basically like implode and then like pop up in different time periods. It was like some really like zonked out, it was like one of the first times I remember reading something so like zonked out and surreal, like as a kid, like it felt like reading a drug trip. It was kind of wild, and the
Okay.
movie's kind of like that too. It's a like I wish I liked the movie more. I really do. They tried to do something cool, but like the book is totally worth reading. It's the book is super dope. I forget who's
Okay.
the author, but yeah,
You
it's
just
tight.
put me on too. I'm making the list of all that. So I'm gonna check that one out too, because I've heard of it and I meant to get around to it, but I just never did. So I'm definitely gonna do that too. Is it anything like is it anything like so you said they like implode into themselves? Like, so am I reading it wrong with the butterfly effect? No?
I mean, you could definitely make a comparison to the butterfly effect. Uh,
Okay.
they're just like, I mean, like A Wrinkle in Time was written, like decades before the butterfly effect. Like, do
Okay.
you mean the
Okay.
butterfly effect is as in the movie, or just like the idea of the
The
butterfly
idea,
effect?
the concept.
Oh yeah, yeah. I think the butterfly effect as a concept might be, they might have. I don't know the history behind it, so I can't say. But
Okay.
it's kind of sort of like it's kind of sort of like that. But like the butterfly effect is all about that's all about like if you change one thing in the past, it'll have drastic consequences in the future. I don't think it was like that. It
Okay.
was it's weird. Like it, go read it. It's cool. That's all I
Okay.
can say.
Okay. I will. I definitely will. I love time travel. Time travel is my shit.
Yeah, no, time travel's fun.
Yeah.
Um, and like you had mentioned it you had mentioned it with Little Princess, but like as you get older, were there any other movies that you'd seen that like was there a movie that kind of stopped you in your tracks and kind of made you appreciate it, not even so much like not just like as a form of entertainment or even as like higher art, quote unquote, but just something that like really touched you and was just like, oh man, like this is like the power of movie making type shit.
My mom made me watch Terms of Endearment. I don't know why, but that
Wow.
movie, yeah, that movie. Um, I think she actually was relating it to her own situation in a way. Terms of Endearment touched me in that way too. And like I know this is probably corny, but the Curious Case of Benjamin Button, it always gets me. Like it always like makes me appreciate like life and like love for real, like love.
Mm-hmm.
Like I just feel like it's just a lot of love in that movie, regardless of what you're going through and your circumstances and shit like that. And actually, this sounds crazy, but I just recently seen the Elvis movie, and the Elvis movie
Oh
made me feel,
shit.
yeah, the Elvis movie made me feel like that too, because I've been really miseducated on Elvis my whole life. And um the Elvis movie really made me, it touched me in a way as an artist, as a performer myself, because I just never knew the history of, I wouldn't just say, I would say he's like one of the first real pop stars that set the blueprint for a recording artist, and like a major mainstream recording.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that movie, I know that sounds crazy, but it touched me a lot. It definitely touched me a lot. And that it touched me because of, I'm an artist as well. So
Right.
it helped me see like all the things that I idolize in the recording industry. And being an artist is like fake. And I don't want to say like, you know how you people are like, oh, blah, 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 Illuminati and all that extra shit, but that's stupid to me. I don't mean that. I mean like as into where like he was like forcibly one of the biggest stars and he hated every aspect of it. He loved his fans,
Right.
don't get me wrong. He liked being on stage, don't get me wrong, but the business that was created to make him that, he hated it. And
Right.
that was really interesting to me because oftentimes you see big stars and you assume that they like what they're doing. You assume that they love the attention. You assume that they love, being an artist and a performer. And to kind of just see Elvis was, his whole career was an homage to Black music. And to see that that's all he ever wanted it to be for real. And it just turned into something else. And to see him just like hate all the aspects of it, it really kind of made me rethink what I want as an artist and what I want to do as an artist and the impact that I want to make. You know what I'm saying? That one did. Um, when Dorothy Dandridge was played by Halle Berry, that also had the same effect on me because
Yeah.
I look up to, Black performers, but more importantly, women that have had to kind of break down doors and barriers to get where they're at. And a lot of them just did not like what was going on at all. You know what I'm saying? So those movies specifically hit me in the heart. It helps me kind of recalibrate what my expectations are as a performer or in this industry, or you know what I'm saying, what roles I have to play, the things, the sacrifices I have to make, and certain things that I have to do. And it helps me like kind of less idolize, if that makes any sense. It
Mm-hmm.
helps me to less idolize things that I've kind of put up in my head, um that are like fallacies that are not true. So
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, like that, like that type of shit makes artists human, and you realize that at the end of the day, like like even like to go back to Elvis, like obviously, like he's like he was one of the earliest examples of somebody who is like what in modern terms we'd consider to be a pop star, and obviously we all know where he got that blueprint from, and like he like I don't think he was like a particularly like like I don't think he did what he did out of malice. Like he clearly
Oh
loved the
no,
music that he was performing,
no.
but
And that,
like like it's a sorry to cut you off. It's a whole like it's a whole story, and obviously like white people's interpretations of Black music tend to be more palatable. That's a whole other conversation. And like he and the people who put him forward deserve to be held accountable for that specific thing. But Elvis
Ooh,
was a human being, like Elvis was a human being.
Yeah, he
And
was, but I also did not realize he was signed to Sun Records, and Sun Records was attempting to put out colored music. They did have colored
that's
artists,
wild. I didn't
and
know that either.
he was one of the only white artists there. And at the time, um, the only reason why he put out the music that he did, because he knew all those people. Actually, he knew Mahalia Jackson. He was very
Right.
close with BB King. He was very close with all the Memphis Beale Street artists. He grew up with them, and that was something that I was not educated on. He was actually one of the only white children in an all Black neighborhood where he grew up at. I had no clue about that. So a lot of his music that he had, and his it was authentic. It really was. And like I said, I didn't know any of that. And he knew for a fact that the artists that he loved, which were Black artists, were not going to get on the radio. So he made mission to cover specific songs, and he was very well aware that they were covers. He was very well aware that he used to always say, I'm not the king of rock and roll. Fats is the king of rock and roll. He used to always say, like, no, it's Black people, but white people did not want to hear that from him. They did not. And they also, another thing that I did not know is they called him like a nigger lover, and they actually were like, they did not like him at the time when he was very young, because he was like, this music is the music I grew up on, and these people are not getting opportunities. So if I have the power to put this music on the forefront, that's the hell I'm gonna do. And that's what he did. And I think it's misinterpreted over the years, because they turned him into, in the long run, once he became an RCA artist, one of RCA's first major artists, once he major pop stars, I kind of want to credit him to being one of the first, but as he became, they turned him into a caricature. So what we see is the Elvis in Vegas, the caricature of the artist, but that also contributed to us feeling like he stole and all that stuff. And they did that on purpose, because they did not like that he loved Black music so much. They hated it. They did not like that. I didn't know that they took out, the government, the senators took out pretty much campaigns against him. That he ended up going to war because they were like, stop playing pretty much what they considered nigger music. They were like, stop playing this. Like, we don't like, you're corrupting our children, and our white children really, really like you. So, you know what I'm saying? And in the movie, they came from very humble beginnings as well. So it was just very interesting to see that, and also realize why artists today, they follow his exact blueprint. And I'm just like, down to merchandise, down to having t-shirts made, down to having buttons made, down to, you know what I'm saying, the way the tours are set up, down to everything. That's something that I feel like is extremely important for us to see. So yeah, I don't know, Elvis got me in a little bit of a chokehold every time somebody comes around, like, you seen the movie? You have to see it, because I just didn't know. I had grew up, my grandmother used to tell me she loved Elvis, and I used to be like, girl, why you like that white man? But now I get it. And I also didn't know Whitney Houston's mom was a background singer for him. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
that's
there's a lot too. He had a whole Black band, and I was not aware of that. You know what I'm saying? In the movie, they make it known. But yeah, he helped a lot of Black artists get their start in the industry as well. And he helped Little Richard as well. And Little Richard actually did not hate him at all. Little Richard actually really loved Elvis. A lot of them really loved him. You know, he used to actually hang out on Beale Street. He used to hang out with Black people all the time. He used to go to Black events. He used to try to be in the hood, because it's, in his eyes, he's from the hood. So he's like, you know, he got crucified a lot for it. I think they did a very, very good job at illuminating that. And also shout out to Doja Cat and everybody on the album of that movie, the soundtrack to that movie. I think it was like Denzel Curry,
Nardo Wicked, yeah.
They all got the amazing placements in that movie. Like, I thought that I was rad. Like, that's one of my dreams as an artist, to get a placement in a biopic of a legendary ass person. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Shout out to them. They did that. They really did that.
Yeah.
They did. And they also called him, this is funny, the first Eminem, but I don't compare him to
See,
Eminem.
I'm actually kind of fascinated that you brought that up, because the first place my brain went was Vanilla Ice, because
Yeah,
I just
oh,
learned,
no.
because I learned there's this really, it's a long piece, and I think it was in the Ringer that my man Jeff Weiss, shout out to Jeff, he's a Real Notes alum. He did like this whole long piece about Vanilla Ice's life. And like he also, he was like, oh yeah, like Vanilla Ice like grew up in like Fourth Ward of Houston, or no,
Okay.
no, 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 no. I'm sorry. Don't quote me on that. Like he grew like he grew up. I can't remember exactly where it was, but I'm a link to the piece. Y'all could go read it. It's like it didn't really make me appreciate, like it didn't make me appreciate his music anymore, but it at least gave me a fuller perspective on who he is as a person. And like
Right.
his story is really fascinating to me.
Right.
Like it really struck me. But I haven't seen the Elvis movie. It's been on my list for a while. I might actually watch it this weekend, just
Yeah.
because
Please
like
do.
just because it kind of looked fun, like not even for whatever historical context, which like if that's there, cool. But I just like it just looked kind of fun and silly, and like it's a Baz Luhrmann movie. He makes silly movies, or not silly movies, but like
I get what you're saying. Like,
he makes like really energetic, like campy movies, and I like that
yeah.
type of shit when I'm in the mood for it. So
Yeah, I get what you're saying. It is definitely that. It's definitely energetic. Tom Hanks plays his manager, and Tom
yeah,
Hanks,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
he made me hate him in the movie, so I know he did his thing too. He made me
Mhm.
hate him. Um, and also Elvis is responsible for, he invented so much stuff. He's responsible for the first satellite broadcast and music, first satellite concert that was able to be pretty much, I guess, for lack of a better word, streamed across the world at one time. He was the first artist to have 1.5 billion people. And imagine during that time, watch a concert from Vegas. So everybody has done that after him. It was never done before him ever. So when we
Mhm.
think about like Janet Jackson and her live in Hawaii, we all watched it on HBO. That would never have happened had Elvis never had did what he did. So they gave a lot of it. It was really cool, and also it's really, like you said, energetic, and the style is insane. That's my favorite thing about movies is costume design, and that's why I became a designer. Um, is
Mhm.
because of people like Edith Head, and yeah, for real, cinema is,
Wow.
yeah, cinema is the sole reason why I became a fashion designer, because I really want to become a wardrobe costume designer for movies one day. I do.
Wow, that's incredible. I didn't know that. I mean, like I knew you were a designer, but I didn't realize that was why you did it. And I wanna dig more into that, but before we do, I want to get to you in music. So like like when did music become more than something that was just like in the background for you? Like cuz like clearly music's been a part of your life forever. But like when did music become like, when did you first recognize it as like, oh, this is like music? Like damn.
So I'm gonna be real with you. I was 5 years old. Um, my grandfather is an artist. So my grandfather took me to the studio when I was little, and I think I met Tony, and I think in Vogue. It was in some studio in Vallejo, and I remember he knew he knows everybody. He knew everybody. My grandfather started his group because when he came back from war, he said that he had a bet with the Temptations, some of the people in the Temptations, that he could start a group or, be a part of the group and they can maintain some type of success. And they ended up doing it. They did. They definitely did. My grandfather worked with Leon Ware, Willie Hutch, a whole lot of people. So when I was young, um, my mom had, I've always been in church, and I guess like I said, was around my grandfather a lot, and he used to always take us to the studio. I used to be with him a lot. So I remember seeing in Vogue, and I remember freaking out and being like, this is what I want to do. And I was 5. I remember being like, this is exactly what I want to do. Like, I know this is what I do. And I started singing right after that, just started singing. And remember my mom was like, I was singing Drew Hill's 5 Steps in the Car. And she told me to come down. She was like, come in the living room and sing that song you were singing in the car. And I sang it for her. And she was just like, okay, you have to go in the choir. So I've literally been in choir from like kid choir to youth choir to adult choir since I was 5 years old. So I've played the violin, the piano, and the drums. And it was always something that I just like, I don't know. I just always knew that this was what I was going to do. So I had the opportunity when I turned 16. I was with my Countdown Beats. Shout out to him because he let me record my first song on his little dinky little microphone on his computer. And we both, I believe he's Eric Sermon's son. He is. And we both were like, yeah, it was just a random type of meeting. And we went to high school together, middle school together. And we had they had these groups and we had beef with another group. And we used to do the school talent shows. And I recorded my first record. Yeah, I was like 15 or 16 where I fully recorded my first song with him. So it was always something that I knew for a fact I was going to do since I was really, really little. And like I said, I had the experience of performing because of church. So I was performing every single Sunday. And I was in choir rehearsals 2 times a week from Monday and Thursday. And I did that until I was 17 years old. So I really, really learned how to sing, how to harmonize, how to do a lot of stuff through the church. So when I started recording, it was just like second nature. Bam, this is what I'm supposed to be doing, you know? It was never something that it was never something that was like a hope or a wish for me. It was always just something I thought was who I was and what I was supposed to be doing. So when it became something to other people was when I recorded my first album, but I was always on Tumblr being really annoying with the music. So I was always singing in like the chat rooms, and I know that's really embarrassing, but I was always singing in chat rooms. I made a lot of friends off of Tumblr because I was rapping really early, and MySpace, I was making videos, and because I had already recorded one of my first songs, I had already considered myself an artist. So I started going by Lil Lemons. Don't ask. Yes, I was Lil Lemons first. And like I said, I recorded Amore Infinity after I made a mixtape that was like Loud Pack for Lucy or something. Mm-hmm. And I had a lot of friends that had a lot of blogs that were at the beginning of the blogging like era, like the beginning, like the very, very beginning. And I just took advantage of that, and they all fucked with me because they had seen me singing on Tumblr for years. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I was able to reach out to a lot of them and kind of just be like, hey, I got this mixtape, will you post it? And they were like, yeah, of course. But then they were like, wait a minute, this is really good. This is actually something I would listen to and, share it with people. And that's, I feel like when it became a thing for like the rest of the world. But for me, it was always a thing. It was always destiny.
Wow. And, you made it, you made it, and you had these people who were posting you all over, and you start to get attention from a lot of different artists. You had already said that you spent so much of your time, like a lot of people did, like singing and performing in the church. And when you started like releasing projects like Amore Infinity, like around like the early 2010s, like talk to me about when you first started recording music for yourself. Like what was it like to go from seeing your grandfather and your uncle doing their shit with all these artists, and then to going into the church, to being like to singing in chat rooms, to being like, all right, I'm gonna like record this shit and like actually put a project together now?
So in 2010, I lost my mom to like a bunch of different cancers, and on her deathbed, it's all good. She's my angel. She's here. So, I remember on her deathbed, I remember telling her like because she was kind of controlling over me in a sense. and I didn't feel like I had a lot of freedom. So right before she was about to pass, I remember I was just turning 18, and I told her, I said, I'm gonna be a singer. I don't want to go into the military, because I came from military families, and I was like, I don't want to go into the military. I don't, want to do this. I don't want to go to school. I'm gonna be a singer, and I'm gonna do it. And I remember she was like, yeah, what do you think? Like, I've been doing this. What do you think I had you inquiring this whole time for? Why do you think, I did all of this for you? Why do you think I kept you around music? She was just like, duh, like, that's exactly what you're supposed to do. And so that's a year later, I put together More Infinity. But how that even happened is I was walking down the street, and one of the neighborhood kids, he's also a producer too. Shout out to him. I'm not sure what he goes by, so I'm not going to butcher his name now, but I was walking down the street, and at that point, after my mom passed, I moved in with my dad, and me and my dad was kind of beefing because, you're 18, you think you, so I was just looking for any reason to get out the house. I see my friend, and I'm like, yo, where are you going? He's like, oh, I'm going around the corner to my friend Dizo's house. Shout out Dizo Beats, because I would not be here without that man at all.
Hey.
And Hassani Quest, shout out to Hassani Quest. I would also not be artist if he hadn't given me direction on what to start with and where to go. So I'm like, where are you going? He's like, going to Dizo's house. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna come with you. I don't want to be in a house right now. My dad's tripping. And I went with them, and they just so happened to be having a meeting where they were trying to start some type of collective. And so Dizo had the studio. I'm telling you, this man had a full studio built in his room. The closet was the booth. Like, he had a whole mixing board, the computer set up and everything. And he's like, I'm trying to build something. And he's like, I want everybody in the room to go around and say what they do. So a lot of people were shy. It was like probably 5 or 6 of us. Shakari, my friend, he was like, I'm a producer. And then it came to me, and he's like, so what do you do? And I'm like, I sing and I songwrite. And they were like, no, you don't. And I was like, yes, I do. And they were like, well, write a song right now. So I wrote the first song off of Amore Infinity, I Just Can't Call It. And I had it done in 5 minutes. And
wow.
Like, they were so amazed with that. Like, they were like, what the hell? Like, she's serious. You know what I'm saying? And they literally just gave me a random beat, and they were like, just make a song. If you can sing and you can write, make a song. Like, they didn't think that I was going to be able to do it. And I finished that song. And from that moment on, we just started recording. We just went full throttle. Like, I was there every day. I was working with whatever artist they brought me, because I was just so excited to finally, like, get started. And before we knew it, I think I released my first single, Twitter Love. It was produced by his
I have it written down right there. Yeah, Twitter Love.
Yeah, Twitter Love. And which is that one sample that's like dun 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 dun. I forget the name, but that kind of like solidified that I was like good at what I did. And we just, like I said, we went in and we just was like recording. And I remember when we finished the project, they were like, damn, we did this shit in like a week or two. And I was like, yeah, like you know what I'm saying? For me, I had been practicing for so long that it was natural. So we went from doing it in his house to taking it into the studio, having it fully mixed and mastered at a bigger studio. And even then, we were not expecting like nothing. I was not expecting I was just not expecting for it to like get really bigger than it being, a home record or whatever the case may be, because I kind of have never at the time seen nobody do that. I thought you had to record everything at the major studio and be signed as a major label artist. So for me to have done this in like somebody's closet that early and kind of like put it out as like a fully functioning album, when I look back on it, I feel like I was very not innovative, but like, yeah, I was kind of ahead of the curve a lot. like I said, we got it mixed and mastered, and I send it to the blogs, all the little friends that I had and stuff like that. And like 2 days, I see everybody's like tweeting me, good job, good job, good job. And I'm like, what? And then it was like on the New York Times. And I was like, what the fuck? Like, this is real. Like, people really like this shit. Like, that shit blew my head. Like, I was like, and I still didn't understand like the magnitude of it at the time, because my dad and I were beefing and I was getting kicked out. So I was like, I'm trying to make sure I got somewhere to stay. Like, is this going to get me somewhere? You know what I'm saying? And I remember me, Diesel, and, you know, and we were just some kids in Orlando at that point. Like, this is like a neighborhood type situation thing. So it really like kind of let us see like it's bigger than this. You know what I'm saying? And I did not have a deal. I did not have management. It was literally just me and the producers. And we kind of like were just having creative fun, like a whole lot of fun. And that shit like took off. Like it took off. And from that moment on, it was just like I started pitching myself to whatever label A&R I could find. I tried to find their emails, and I was really obsessed with it because I was like, okay, now it's time. It's a go. Like, this is what I've been waiting for my whole life. And I started pitching myself relentlessly to anybody who I thought I could go to or might, you know what I'm saying? Might want to work with me and so forth. And yeah, that shit really, I guess, that shit kind of like put me on the map for a lot of other artists who had aspirations to do the same thing later on in their career and so forth too. So yeah, that it was about 2010 when that happened, I believe. Yeah.
It said like around like 2010, 2011, and just like, you know, so like that's like I'm trying to even figure out like where to start, because just like between the shit going on with you and your father, and just like everything going on with like, you know, like this, you know, like this album was basically like a crash course for
Yeah.
you, and you just kind of, you know, like it's, you know, like, it's like your first time like recording for real with a bunch of other people, and y'all don't think it's gonna go anywhere, and then it starts to go a few places, and that, and you know, like you've already kind of like implied that, but I can only imagine how much of a serotonin boost and like a head bust that whole situation must have been. So like after all of that happened, and like you see your name on the fucking New York Times, like, you know, like, you know, just like you obviously continue to record more music and
So
continue
no,
to put.
I did not I did not
Okay.
think I was going to record any more music, because I go home and I say, Dad, I made the New York Times. And he goes, okay, well, you have to get out. So I don't really care about that. And then he was like, and now that you made the New York Times, you should be fine, right? You he was like,
Hmm.
you should be fine. Like you're gonna I'm kicking you out. And I think like you're gonna be a star. So it should all work out in your favor. I was like, what? Are you
What the
kidding me?
fuck?
Like, I was like, are you serious? And so 2 days later, he's like, I bought you a ticket to California. Go figure it out. Just straight like
Mm.
that. Straight
And
like
this is
that.
in Florida. You going from Florida to California?
Yeah. And you know, my mom's family's from California, and I wasn't with them at the time, but he was just like, go figure it out. He was like, you're gonna be a star. Like, you'll figure it out. And I was like, what? Like, I would never forget that moment of being in my room and being like, damn, like I gotta stay positive. Cause if I don't know what the fuck, like, and I remember being so scared to get to California because I was just like, fuck, what if this shit does not work? And I had really low self-esteem at the time. So I kind of was just like, I don't like, if my dad and my family are not going to be supportive of this, I don't want to do this. So I
Right.
definitely did not think that I was going to put out something else. And I didn't know like that I was like kind of walking myself into my next project high grade either. And my first album, actually, I wrote it all about, like I said, my mom had passed. So I was so young. I had never had a boyfriend before and none of that shit. And I just wrote it all about my mom's relationship with her husband and stuff like that. So I don't know if people know that, but it
You're
was
talking
my
about
take on,
Amore Infinity?
yeah, it was my take on a lot of
Hmm.
those songs were my take on her relationship with her husband and stuff.
Wow. I
Yeah.
didn't know that. That's crazy.
Yeah. So yeah, I was trying to mimic a lot of the R&B I grew up hearing, but more so like just kind of like watching her going through what she was going through and stuff like that. And yeah, a lot of the songs, even me down to picking like Faith Evans, the cover, that was one of her favorite songs. A lot of the stuff was really, really, really like kind of influenced off of my mom, 100%. So yeah,
Wow.
but once he kicked me out, like I'm telling you, I went back to Oakland, and I remember I just stayed at a random hippie house. Like it was really that deep. Like I had nowhere to go. And by the grace of God, people took me in. And when I got there, they knew who I was. They knew who I was. And they had looked at me like I was some type of like artist or star. And that also blew my head too, because I was like, what is like, I'm literally homeless. Like,
Man, so like you make it back to Oakland, you kind of got like you have little to nothing, but you're with these people who make you still feel larger than life, and like you're making it work, and eventually you do make high grade. So
yeah.
talk to me about where, like, how long between Amore Infinity and how long was the wait period, or not the wait period? I don't want to trivialize everything you just told me. Like how long was it between those two projects, and what was it like making high grade?
Okay, so when I was in Oakland, the people that I was with, shout out to them, Hellas, Queens Delight, Duckworth is one of my best friends. I met all of
Hey.
them at that time. So we were just young making music. You know what I'm saying? Like I met them at that time. So I attached to them immediately. And we was in San Francisco. We used to live at this place called the Warehouse. And they like I said, really, really embraced me. I honestly don't know where I would be too without them, for real. They really embraced me. And I would say that they encouraged my creative process 100,000,000%. But at the time, I was like everywhere. So I had a little bit more like kind of press than they did at the time. And I still wasn't really like even aware of all of that shit. Like I was aware of it, but it didn't have I don't know how to describe it. Like it didn't, I guess when you're going through shit, it doesn't like hit you, because I feel like now if that shit happened, I would have taken a full advantage. I would have hit everybody up and been like, yo, yo, yo. But because I was literally like, on the streets, I don't know. I just never got really like Hollywood or industry or nothing like that during that time. And they embraced the hell out of me. So they helped me kind of like nurture my gifts at that time and kind of like really understand like, okay, now Iman is not just like, I have a sound. Like I literally have a sound now. And they helped me realize all of that. And somebody connected with them and was like, hey, we heard that you have Lucille Ghatti. We really want to work with her. And they ended up driving up from LA. It was like a group of people. And it ended up being Tay Walker from the internet. And
Hey.
yeah, his family and stuff. I love them. Shout out to them. I just seen him in LA. And they ended up asking me to write for them and kind of like write music for them and help, and just kind of like become a writer and so forth. And like I said, I was completely down for it because I was trying to get the hell up out of Oakland. So I was like, okay, it took about, I want to say I had only been in California for like, it was only like 3 months I had been there before that happened. And I got to LA, I want to say within that 3 month span from Amore Infinity releasing to that time, from me being in California. And once I did get to LA, I started recording immediately. But the thing is, when I got there this time, because I was in San Francisco and they told me they kind of told me I have a certain sound about me. I specifically knew that I wanted to like sound like any RD. I knew I wanted to sound like Vanessa Marquez. I was like, I want to be like a Pharrell artist. So I went there with the intention and I kept saying like, let's make some spacey shit. Like, let's make some stuff that's like, I really, really wanted that sound like real bad, real bad.
You were just talking recently about how you were basically a Star Trek girl. That's so
Yeah.
funny. That's so
Yes.
funny.
No, I'm without a doubt a Star Trek girl. I used to get in trouble by my mom. I used to get on my skateboard and I thought I was rebellious. I skate and I used to ride around listening to Fly or Die. Like I used to be like, oh, like you couldn't tell me shit. Like, and where I grew up, they didn't know nothing about that. So it really made me feel like an individual at the time. And it
Right.
kind of became a huge part of my personality and my style. So by the time High Grade rolled around, I was like, yeah, this is the sound that I want. This is what I want to do. And then I asked, my team at the time, could we kind of like not imitate it, but could we create something similar, but for me? You know what I'm saying? So that's what they did. That's exactly what, when I tell you, that's exactly what they did. And they were very excited to do it too. And it only took us, when I tell you, 2.5 weeks to record High Grade. It took us 2.5 weeks.
Wow. So it took you, yeah. So it took you a week and change to run through Amore Infinity, and then it took you 2 weeks to run
Yeah.
through High Grade. That's
Yeah.
like, wow. And so like you do all of that and you put out High Grade after this like after this like really rough period of you not having a place to stay and you just kind
It
of
was still rough. I was still going through it, sleeping on somebody's couch.
right.
They let me stay there by the grace of God at the time, but I was starving. I remember I didn't have $1 to eat. I was eating ramen every day. I was eating packs of oatmeal every day. Like I didn't have shit. So High Grade really, I feel like, is some of my most definitive work because when I tell y'all, like, I was a starving artist, I was a literal starving artist. Like,
Yeah, no, you were out here doing it for the love type shit. Yeah.
yeah, and then also, the New York Times put it in my head I could be something bigger than that. I could be a star, and so I wanted to use High Grade as the opportunity to become a star for real. I did. I definitely did, and that's when I first started understanding, like, oh shit, like I'm like a weed smoking spiritual ratchet hippie. Like I realized what my image was at that time. I think
Mhm.
this is still like 2011. Yeah, it was like 2011, 2012 around this time. And that's when I had kind of got my identity together as far as who Lucille Ghatti was. I got the golds and you know what I'm saying? I got to LA and I started meeting everybody. So showing up, I had to show up as Loud Pack Lucy. And I was doing that. Like I was so like in love with being Loud Lucy at that time. Like I was in love with being Lucy at that time. And the music was really like it helped people kind of understand like what I was doing. And at that point, this is like project number 2 or 3 for me. So I got way more comfortable with what I was doing as an artist too. And like I said, that's the one that really, besides Amore Infinity, that like put me, I feel like, on the map. That's one of the ones my fans really know me for and really love me for.
Mhm.
And I'm just really honored that I kind of went through struggle so bad because if I didn't, I would not have been able to put my authenticity in the music.
Yeah, it's always really that's such a that's such a difficult thing to kind of approach. Just like nobody wants to go through hardship. Nobody wants to go through bouts of homelessness and starving, eating ramen and oatmeal all the time. Like nobody wants to have to do that, but you listen to stories of people who really like devote their lives, and like you're somebody who like devoted their life to music when you had damn near nothing else.
Yeah.
Like you hear these stories and it's just like, just like it's like they say, desperate times call for desperate times call for desperate
Hell yeah.
why am I I'm forgetting the last word. My
Measures.
brain's fucking up. But yeah, there you go. Measures. Damn. What's wrong with me today? Oh yeah, desperate times call for desperate
Sleep. Get
measures.
sleepy.
And yeah, but no, like but like you get to the point where you make a project like High Grade, and like you're making some noise, and people are really, like you're getting a response regardless of whether or not you're getting, like the money you want to see from it. You're getting a response. People know who you are. You're
Yeah,
rubbing shoulders.
I didn't get a dime. I didn't
Yeah.
get advance. I didn't get even like an allowance. I didn't get anything. And uh it was a time where I was very upset about that, but I kind of let all of that go because I think that that was just a part of the story, man. Like I still wouldn't trade it for not having high grade. You know what I'm saying? I'm glad that I have that. So
I feel you.
I just didn't have anything at the time, and I was trying so hard to get something at the time. Like I really was, but what I did have was exposure, and what I did have was good PR. I had great PR, and I used that to my full advantage at that point. And like I said, I think I recorded High Grade 2 like in less than a month after that. And I think I kind of scared my management a little bit because I didn't know you're supposed to work an album for like a year or two. I was like, well, we put that out, let's do something else. And I work like that. I work really, really, really fast. I have 17 albums out. So I work fast as hell. Like,
right.
I don't know why I'm like that. I don't know, but I was ready to move on. And I think that kind of like scared them a little bit because they did put a lot of time and effort into High Grade. And they were like, why you just want to move on from it? And I'm like, it's not that I want to move on. I still want to drop, another High Grade project, but I'm moving like an independent artist. I'm not moving like a label artist.
Right. Yeah.
That time, like, I don't know, there wasn't really a blueprint on how to do it as an independent artist. Like,
right, like there is today, like you were kind of ahead of your time in that way. There weren't, like outside of like currency,
yeah,
like and like right, I'm sure. And like and like of course, like like from what's it called, a lot of Cali artists were kind of dropping music like crazy too, especially down in the Bay. Like I know the Bay has a really big like trunk mixtape culture, and people are just like buying like 5 albums that get put out in like 2 weeks type shit.
Right.
Like
so that's where I came from. I came from that culture of exactly that. Growing up, the hyphy movement and all those artists used to put out tape after tape after tape. So in my head, I was thinking I specifically remember telling them, we're gonna Lil Wayne this and I'm gonna make noise because I'm gonna just keep putting shit out. And they were like, I don't know about that. Like, you're trying to get a deal and shit. They were like, I don't know about that. Like, you got to take time to let people get to know you. And I was like, I'm just going to keep going, and I think I was kind of a little bit headstrong in that because, like I said, I didn't know you're supposed to work an album. I just now know what it means to work an album after the breakup, as ironic you said that. That's the first album that I tried to work, like for real, work it. And at the time, I just didn't. I was very rebellious, and I was also still very hurt about my mom and my dad. So I feel like I just was more so like, like I got to be a star now. I got to be a star now with High Grade. And I think also having that mentality kind of, I don't want to say ruined, but it held me back a lot. It definitely did. It did for sure. But I definitely came from the culture of selling shit out your trunk, of LimeWire, just being on LimeWire, you find this mixtape, that mixtape, this one, that one.
Yeah, and then you just wind up downloading like 200 songs,
like,
and fuck up your computer.
Right. And as an independent artist, now I know that's what you're supposed to be doing, whatever the fuck you want to do. But at the time, I thought I was doing something wrong. So I thought maybe I was giving, like, oversaturating a little bit, if that makes any sense.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was probably hard to keep up with, but I don't know. I'm glad that I got the projects out of it that I did. So
as long as you're happy, and it's like, and it's like I said, it's like at that time, that wasn't really like the norm. It wasn't the norm to be like dropping one project and then have another 3 to 4 months later, at least not in like a mainstream quote unquote sense, but
definitely
like
R&B. Definitely not in R&B for sure.
Right. Yeah, definitely not an R&B.
Definitely not. And I remember they were called alternative R&B at the time. And now it's like a
thing.
It's a full thing now. But at the time, I remember seeing it and they were like, this is alternative R&B. And I used to be like, no, this is neo soul. Like, what are you talking about? This isn't alternative. But now it's like it's a thing. And I remember, they didn't know how to categorize me at the time. They didn't. They were like, confused.
you know the one I always remember? Like, people used to call the shit PB R&B. You ever hear that one before?
No, I haven't.
It's awful. Like they used to call like the weekend. I mean, like early like
Okay,
House of Balloons
yeah,
era
yeah, yeah.
weekend and like Frank Ocean and like Miguel. They called that like PBR and B, like hipster R&B,
But
alternative
see,
R and B.
that
You know,
because
like
I didn't get that because I was getting trill wave R&B because of who I was connected to and who I was working with,
yeah,
and
naturally.
with Speaks and like Raider Clan and stuff like that. So I was getting, they was calling me trill wave, and I like
Hmm.
that way better than alternative. I still love trill,
Same.
still love trill wave. But
Yeah,
that's
that shit
pretty
is
much
tough.
like, yeah, they was giving me that moniker at the time, and I loved, absolutely loved that, and I still love it to this day. And I'm really cool that that's a part of my history too.
That's
But
yeah. I love.
yeah,
I'm sorry. I don't mean to keep cutting you off.
you're not cutting me off at all. You're fine.
I just don't like talking over people. But so like you've gone, so like you put out these two projects, and you've already gone through some pretty crazy changes and made some connects and have made a lot of noise. And you already mentioned the breakup, which obviously, like there was a lot of time between High Grade and the breakup. But and so like but I'm curious about the breakup specifically because you said that was the first time you really figured out how to like market yourself. So
Right,
like
right.
yeah, so like what do you mean by that? And like what was it, like especially considering that we're talking about from like 2012 to the breakup came out in 2019. So like that's a I mean, like there's like things that happened in between those 7 years.
Yeah,
But like
Lucy's Suite. I had put out Lucy's Love Suite, which actually has one of my biggest songs, Been About You, Still About You, with Lauren Wong.
mhm.
Shout out to Lauren Wong. Shout out to DJ West. Um, so I did put out Lucy's Love Suite before that. But see, Lucy's Love Suite, that one is when I kind of like, that's Lucy's Love Suite and Bad Manners too. Why am I forgetting Bad Manners? Bad Manners. Okay, so Lucy's Love Suite and Bad Manners. Bad Manners, I came. It was Bad Manners was after High Grade, the High Grade era, and Bad Manners I had released when I got to New York. And when I came here, I had New York buzzing with that shit. I'm not even gonna hold you. I was doing
Mhm.
SOBs with that one. I was doing show after show with that one, but I still had not understood how to market myself at all. And I remember I was that one was 2013, and I was taking old school 90s R&B, and I was covering, I was doing that then, and they're doing that now. But I was doing
Right.
then on that project, and I didn't even understand the significance of it. Like I always say that I had the Shawty Swing My Way sample, and then years later I hear Bryson Tiller have it the kind of exact the same way. And like I said at the time, I literally was like, I didn't understand how to market myself. So there's a kind of a few projects that I have that I feel like went a little bit under because I didn't understand what my image was. And those ones were kind of like trial and error. But I was able to get At Your Neck was a hit off of Bad Manners, and Been About You, Still About You was a hit off of Lucy's Love Suite, was supposed to be Bad Manners too, but I changed the name last minute. And like I said, those two were more sonically about like tapping into R&B because they said I was alternative, and I was like trying to protest it at the time. So I was like, I need to get back into the neo soul sound. So I feel like I sharpened, they say steel sharp as steel. So I feel like I sharpened my writing abilities and my songwriting, my singing abilities with those two projects. And those two have like some of my highest played songs ever, like 500,000 and all that stuff. And those were done off of headphones and a fucking iPhone.
Man.
And yeah, and I just find that that's very incredible that I was able to pull that shit off. And kind of like nobody really knew that, I'm seeing this shit get on Complex, and I'm like, if these niggas knew I did this on GarageBand, like I really did. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, with the most basic, like,
Beats,
like if I
beats,
fucking like out the box equipment, like,
beats headphones and an iPhone 5. I recorded 2 albums on.
man.
So yeah, that's how much I love music. I was like, ain't nobody gonna stop me. I didn't have access to a studio the way I thought I should. So I was just kind of like, ain't nobody gonna stop me from doing, doing me, doing what I want to do, creating music the way I want to create music anyway. So I did those two projects. And so after those two projects, that's when it kind of hit me that I didn't blow up the way I wanted to blow up. And I got
Mhm.
that started like the bulk of like my music depression, like for real, because I was just like, okay, wait a minute, why am I doing this on headphones and stuff? Like, why am I not in the studio? Why don't I have a budget? Why don't I have a deal? Why don't I have these things? And it just kind of like sent me into this tailspin depression. I can't even describe like how bad it was, but that's how I got the breakup, because the breakup was me trying to divorce what I felt like was failure in my career.
Right.
So that's why it's called that. But that also was one of the ones where it was finally recorded on the microphone. It was finally recorded like on real shit. So
only took you like 7-8 years.
yes. Oh my God. Like for real.
It's like, all good. Whatever works, you know. Like
right. And being Leo, Memory Music. Shout out to Philly. Memory Music. We had instant chemistry with the music. The minute he had been sending me beats at that point for almost like a year. So
right.
I never tapped in with him. I had like never seen them and never really checked them out. And then one day, you know, I'm fucking in this room sad as fuck. And I was like, let me go listen to some music. And I tapped in and I was like, whoa, I've been asleep on this. Like, what? I hit him up immediately. I'm like, where are you at? He's like, I'm in New York. I'm like, whoa, I'm in New York. I'm like, nah, we gotta like, nah, like. So we started recording the breakup. But from that moment on, he used to make me have meetings with him where he wanted to discuss, because I think he was coming off of working at Cobalt, and he had a better sense of like what an artist should be or like look like and stuff. And he wanted me to have like a full, like, I don't know, like organized system with this album. And I'm telling you, it helped so much, because we would go for coffee, sit down and have meetings, and he would have his computer out and he would be like, okay, what is the game plan for this project? And I was like, what are you talking about? We just gonna put it out. And he was like, no, we're not. He was like, no, we're not. We're gonna sit down and we're gonna come up with a concept and we're gonna brainstorm, and you're gonna tell me what it is that you want to accomplish with this, and we're gonna try to accomplish it. And I was like, I don't usually do that. My phone dropped. I'm like, I don't usually do that. I just usually, you know what I'm saying? Put it out and, you know, hope for the best. So he was like, yeah, nah, that's not what. So it kind of like forced me to figure out who I was for real as artist, like for real. And I had just signed a deal with this British label Bender at the time. And I was trying to convince them to give me like a bigger budget for it. So I really wanted the project to be like solid and put together. So with all those things in mind, you know, I started like doing photo shoots that were coordinated. That was the first time I did photo shoots that were coordinated with the album. I started doing events, my first set of events, where I would be throwing theme parties that were coordinated with the project. I remember I was putting together press kits that were coordinated with the project. And when I sent the engineer tips for engineering the album, I gave him a whole like list of what I wanted the sound exactly to be like, and the mood of it and stuff like that. That was the first time that I actually like really put my foot in. I was rehearsing. I hired singers. You know what I'm saying? Like you know, booked people to perform with me and for my show, and had people come out from different states and stuff to perform. And I just kind of understood, like at that point I said, oh yeah, that's probably why my other albums didn't do what I wanted them to do. Because I never did this before. You know what I'm saying? I tried to shop it. I was unsuccessful with shopping it, but I tried to shop it. Like I shopped it everywhere. Anybody that would listen to it, any record label that I could find, I tried to send it to their like A&R or somebody of that nature. And I sent it to a shit ton of people, like so many people. And even though I didn't get the response I thought I should have got it with that, I have evidence that people heard it, if you know what I mean. So I worked that one I really put my foot in so hard. Like that was my first putting my foot in. And then I understood, like, I was like, okay, I got sex appeal that I could work with. I got, I'm more than just being spiritual, like ratchet and spiritual and stuff. And because I'm from Oakland and I had used that for a long time. Like, bitch, I'm from 2-9. But for this time, I saw myself in more of a feminine, sensual light, more of like I don't know, like a storyteller, if that makes any sense.
Mm-hmm.
And the album, I wanted to talk about the depression that I was feeling from feeling like I failed in music. So I did just that all over that project. And just like breaking up with situations and things that weren't healthy for me, and mindsets and people, and a lot of shit was coming to a head at that time. So yeah, that one really, that one. And then also I was in New York, so I wanted to have the title track be facts. I wanted it to be like slang, because I started really being like, I really love New York. So I tried to
Right.
put a little bit of culture in that bitch, and just, I don't know. It was really a time. It was really a real time, a really fun time in my life too. Really fun time in my life. And I remember being really hurt because I just felt like nobody experienced. I'm like, this is my first one that's really good. Like, y'all want me to do this shit on my phone? Like, you know?
Yeah, and I'm actually happy you brought that up because like hearing you say all this, and just like talking about like recording off of like Beats headphones into an iPhone, and just like kind of being like ahead of your time in terms of like release strategy, and just like because like the whole like recording onto your iPhone thing. Like Steve Lacy just had a phone put in the Smithsonian in DC for that.
Wow.
Like
I should
like
have
he's,
to be honest.
I mean, like like that. Like, that's why I bring that up, because like you were doing that before.
Yeah.
Like Steve Lacy, but like it's just like I just say this in the sense of like you do all of these things that people eventually pick up on, however they pick up on it. And like just like I think all the time when it comes to certain artists of just like like being ahead of your time often means that you get overlooked. Like you're the person who kind of like, like in the sense of somebody like a Hattie McDaniel, you're kind of like opening the door for people to do that stuff and for it to be a little more accepted than it might be otherwise. And I always feel the need to ask is like, like as someone who kind of did this, didn't get the response they wanted, regardless of whatever marketing, like was or wasn't done, like did it ever get frustrating to kind of look at stuff like that and be like, damn, like what do they have that I don't?
When I
you know
I spent 6 years in that black hole where I'm getting emotional talking about it. That's crazy. But it got to a point where I was just like, what the fuck am I doing? Like, I'm seeing like so many people take off with LOL. Sorry, I always get emotional talking about this because I'm just now out of it, where I finally feel like I'm just now out of the shit, where I finally feel like I'm in a space where nobody can take this shit from me, or nothing can take it from me. But at the time, I was very angry, very, very angry, very bitter. Um, and fuck, sorry.
no, we can move on if you want. We don't have to. I don't
Oh no, no,
I
no, no, no! I have to
Okay,
say, like, I'm a Cancer. I'm a fucking crybaby. So
I
that's just
got
like
you. I got
I fucking talk. But I do think it's
got
important
you.
for other artists to see this too, because I'm not the only one that's experienced this. And like I said, it is very important that they do get to see this. But um, there's other artists that are younger than me that are not even just younger, or that or want to come in the game, or there's a lot of artists I know who have experienced the same thing and have these same sentiments as well. But I'm just a crybaby bitch. So but I was very angry, very, very, very angry for a majority of years. I was very angry because a lot of these people I knew, you know what I'm saying, and a lot of these people could have like thrown me an alley oop, or you know what I'm saying, something, and I just felt
Excuse me.
like it just didn't, I guess, go that way. And like I said, I was bitter as hell. I'm not even gonna deny that. I was fucking fucked up about it and depressed and all kinds of things about it, because I just felt like, what if, like you mentioned Hattie McDaniel, I kind of felt like the sacrificial lamb. I kind of felt like I did all of that so somebody else could run. or you know what I'm saying, I did all of this so somebody else could, you know, could fly. They always say what MLK walked so Obama could fly type shit. Like that's how
Yeah,
it
yeah,
was.
yeah.
That's how it felt. That's exactly how it felt for me. And um it was crazy because every time I would bring it up, people would just think I was being like crazy and just mean and rude and I'm a mean girl and all this stuff. But I was just like, no, like, nigga, I literally have sacrificed relationships with my family, a lot of shit for this dream, for this, you know. This is not something I take lightly. This is not no fucking hobby. This is not no fucking
Right.
like dream. This is not a, I'll make that clear. This is not a dream for me. This is my reality. This is my life.
It's your
So,
life, yeah.
yeah. So it's not something that's in the far distant future for me where I'm like, one day I hope. No, like, this shit is now. It's always been like that for me. And, um, I've had to kind of come to terms and kind of I would say put my little shit to the side, but I seen like so many people get credit for shit that I feel like I was definitely a part of the innovation of a lot of these things. And it just made me constantly be like, I quit. I fucking quit. I quit. I don't want to do this anymore. And I think people were catching the brunt of that off of me, especially like my fans, but they weren't really understanding where I was coming from. They kind of were just looking at me like, oh, like, okay, nobody wants to see you like be sad about shit. And I was just like, you know, because on one end, I'm feeling like a failure, but on the other end, people who have really listened to my music, they're looking at me like, Lucille Ghatti. Like, no, like this, like you have been an impact in my life and you're an artist that I really, really fuck with. So they're not looking at me as like a regular person that um, you know, is going through something. They're just looking at me as like an artist. So I'm supposed to be inspirational to them all the time. I'm supposed to be positive to them all the time. And I was not that for years, 4 years. And I think they were looking for that from me because of the magnitude of work I had put out. And I do feel like that kind of hurt my career. But like, no, I was genuinely mad at that shit. Like, no, like there's still to this day, like, no, I still want my flowers for certain shit. I still want to be recognized for all the shit I put in, for real. And I don't
Hmm.
think that'll ever go away. But I don't want to be selfish either because music is not supposed to be selfish. It's not about me at all. I'm just a one person in a long line of greats or a long line of people of creativity, of the universe's creativity. So I also felt bad, like I'm being selfish. I felt guilty because I'm like, I'm trying to make this shit all about me and I'm being selfish and that's not cool either because I love music. I love music. So besides all the fame and all that shit, I'm a like music is my shit. Like I'm a music historian. You know what I'm saying? Like I study this shit. I do
Yeah.
research on it. Um, you know what I'm saying? Like it's had a huge impact in my life. So to be something in this game and be like mad at it, that also broke my heart too because I'd never expected it to be like that. I always expected for me to just get to a position to where, you know, I could do my thing and I could have the sold out shows and I could connect with the fans and I could listen to their stories about, you know, how the music has helped them live through life and how it's helped shape their identities and, you know, how it's um help them create a sound and stuff like that. So it was, I would say more than frustrating. It was really like, yeah, it was bad, but I guess it's just a part of the game, you know. And I truly believe that it's. I always tell myself, you just have a miraculous story. Like this just is a part of the story. You know what I'm saying? And maybe you can just educate other artists coming into the game what to avoid and how to take their shit serious. But one thing that I will say that it did do was allow me to own my music and get
Right.
complete ownership over the shit that I've done. And because I wasn't bigger, I zeroed in and started mad companies because I was like, I don't have a record label, I'm gonna start a record label. I don't have PR, I'm gonna start a PR company. And I started just doing all those things. And now I'm just like, I have full companies now that came from that time of my frustration and my, you know, depression over not making it what I thought it was. So
Right. And like you
yeah.
had that and like the clothing designing and you never really stopped making of course you haven't stopped making music. And then, like this Popstar Benny shit happens and Tears of a Clown. So like
Yes.
talk to me about how y'all got connected and just like what it, like what like what it was like to put this project together, and I guess what hopes you have for it, because it seems like this is primed to get you a little bit more attention than some of your other shit. So
So this is really wild. Benny grew up on my music. So Benny has been a
wow.
fan of he was in high school. And that's what I was saying earlier. Like, there are so many people now that are like, yo, like, your shit inspired the fuck out of me. And they're telling me this. And I'm just like, what? Like, I'm really like, and I think this is how me and Benny got together. I was going on a Twitter rant. And I was like, they just be stealing from me and all this shit. And I guess he saw it and he followed me and he sent me a DM and he sent me a picture of all his old records, and he had all my old albums, like all my old, even some of the deep cuts. And I was like, damn. And he was just like, yo, you right. He was like, I grew up listening to you. And he was just like, you're right. Like, you inspired me to help me find my sound as a producer. And I was like, you fucking lying. Like, shut up. Like, I didn't believe him because that shit is crazy to me. Like, that shit is nuts. And then when I tapped in and I was seeing all the work that he did, I was like, whoa, like, okay, that's fucking cool. Like, I love being a part of somebody's history. Like, I love being a part of something like that. And so he initially like sent me a record and I did the record, which was really fucking cool, but I didn't take it serious. I'll say I didn't really take it serious because I was coming off of working on like some other records I had did. And then one day, I want to say it wasn't that long ago because we did the album pretty fast too. But it wasn't that long ago, and he was just on Twitter tweeting. You know how he always posts his beats. He always does. And I had he had posted one, and I DM'd him. I was like, "Send me that," and he sent it to me. And I sent him the record back, and he was like, "Oh, holy, like, nah, I'm finna send you a whole lot more." And he just kept sending me probably like 30 or 40 beats at once. And I sent him back like 10 records, and before we know it, we just fully had a project. And the project initially had started off as like a heartbreak album because I was breaking up with somebody. And then once I got the rest of the records, I was like, oh no, I don't want to do that. Like, I want it to be like, I want to create like a new sound for myself and shit like that. Plus the breakup is very plug-and-b. It's extremely plug-and-b. And I decided that that's where I want to be in music, as a plug-and-b artist. Like, I decided that
Right.
that's my sound. That's
And
where I want to be.
and yeah, plug&b is having like a really big moment right now, and more people are starting to get tapped into that. So once again, you were a little ahead of the curve with that one too. Sorry, I just had to say that.
No, I mean, it's not sorry to say that. It just is what it is. And so my thing is, I'm thinking this album might make plug&b mainstream, and I'm a little nervous about that because, when shit hits the mainstream, because of course I want to, be global, of course. But I'm just nervous that it might, take it. And there are definitely other plug&b artists, but I haven't heard any like singers like me, kind of like approach it or touch it really yet. There are a lot of talented people in plug&b, a whole lot of talented people in plug&b. And I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying, like, I haven't really heard any of the R&B-ish, soulish kind of take that lane yet. So it really made me like kind of be like, oh yeah, totally, I could do this, and then I could be an individual in this. And then I'm not gonna lie, that is what got me out of my music funk completely, is this album with Benny. You probably could hear it all through there that I just sound more clear. I sound more happy. I just sound like I really wanted to put this shit together. And I just like, we ended up just having full conversations. Me and Benny, he's such a great guy. I don't even think he realized how much he's helped me come out of this bullshit that I've been trying to get out for so long. And he just like really started executive producing, and he started being like, keep this song, drop this song, and like, let's really put this shit together. And so now, with the knowledge that I have from the breakup, I'm applying that to this album 100%. You know what I'm saying? As far as the market is concerned, and understanding what it is that I want to do with this. And he linked me with Raf Made, Glum Boy, 14 Let's Go. Forgive me who I'm naming, but he just opened a door for me now that now a whole bunch of plug-and-b producers have sent me music, and I'm just like, okay, like fuck, like this is a whole new world for Lucille Ghatti type shit. So
Right.
I was kind of on the fence. Do I stay with Lucille Ghatti or do I venture off into like change my name? And that's where I came up with Six Sabbath and stuff for it. And
Yeah.
he just, I don't know. I just want to thank him for believing in me, and then also giving me the beats, because he didn't have to do that. You know what I'm saying? He did
Right.
not
Yeah.
have to do that at all. He did not have to do that, but he did. And you know what I'm saying? Like, this is like a platinum producer. So that's how I'm looking at him. Like, you are a platinum producer, you know what I'm saying? And like I said, he didn't have to do that. So he helped me find a whole new sound. He did. He did. I'm excited about this project because I'm just very excited about it. But it's kind of like the same feeling as the More Infinity. I don't expect anything from it. I don't. I'd be okay if I just put it out and, you know, it was enjoyed the way it was and stuff like that. I kind of don't have any plans to shop it or nothing, like, at all. Like, I don't want to tarnish it. I don't want to ruin the vibes. If it catches fire, it catches fire, and that's awesome. But if it does, not be satisfied either way, because I'm pioneering another sound. So that's all you could ask for as an artist, to be honestly ahead of the curve.
Yeah. You know, it's
I'm
it's really
chatting.
no, you're good. Um it's really interesting for me to hear you say that you don't have any plans to like super duper shop it, especially considering that like you kind of did that with the breakup. Like, are you just gonna kind of drop it and then just leave and go on to the next shit again? Or are you gonna
Oh, no. I plan to fully like be immersed in Tears of a Clown, because Tears of a Clown to me is, I called it that because I felt like, you see how I just cried? I was just crying and shit. I felt like that about music for a long time, and I kind of feel like I'm the clown. Like, I don't know how to describe it, because it's just like, I just feel like, I don't know, it's clown behavior for me to ever think less about my work or to think less about anything. And because
right?
I did that, I kind of feel like I put myself in a lot of dinky positions. And I also feel like I also feel like a what is it, I feel like an attraction in the circus that gets overlooked, but I figured out how to and the Elvis movie actually is inspired by the Elvis movie. In the Elvis movie, Elvis's manager is a tour manager for the circus, for the, what is it called? Yeah, it's like the circus show, but a freak show, circus show, whatever.
Right,
And
right, right.
he says he knows he's successful because the art of the snow job, which is people emptying out their wallets for entertainment, for a smile. You just leave them with a sense of emotion, and that's what they came here for. And that's the huge inspiration behind this project is as well. It's definitely a snow job, but definitely uh I feel like the clown cries for real. So like I said, I don't want to shop it. I don't want it to get tarnished. But I can guarantee you, and I quote me on this, that you will be hearing other people attempt to sound bigger than me, probably. Um, I know that for a fact because that always happens to me, but you will hear other people attempt this sound in the future. So I just want to make sure that I don't get jaded by anything. And I feel like if I shop in and if I take the industry route and get jaded, I'm gonna get real upset. I'm gonna get probably, you know what I'm saying? Having connections in the industry is not bad. And there are also very good people in the music industry, but I feel like I don't want to take the focus off how good this shit is. But I'm not gonna let this go. I'm gonna ride this shit out for probably the next year. Just to me, each song can have its own world, and I have enough to make videos for every single one of them and release. I can really release every single one as a single if I wanted to. So I can do whatever I want with this shit, and it's fun to me. Now it's fun. So yeah.
Good for you. Nah, I love to hear that. I just like, like on that note, I've spent so much time thinking about your career since you've kind of like laid the story out for me. And like since you started out like at the damn near the beginning of the blog era up until now, I don't even know what to call this era that we're in right now. But like but like the blog era as we knew it has been dead for a while. But like like you've really been at this for a decade. Like
I want to
and
first verified artists. Their
like
first.
see, yeah, like right there. Like no, say it again. Say it again.
Oh no, no, I got excited there, and I'm sorry for cutting you off, but
No, you're
I was
cool.
I was one of Genius's first verified artists. Like I was talking to like the people who created Genius was emailing me, and I was speaking with them. You know what I'm saying? Like they wanted me on the platform, and it's just crazy. It's just crazy. Like I'm really from that time. Like that shit. Like and I didn't have to like force that on me. They genuinely fucked with me. So
Right.
yeah, I wish I had the blog still. But
But yeah, but yeah, I bring that up just because I'm curious since you've been here since you've been doing this for a decade, like in this like nebulous kind of like Wild West type of environment that we're in right now, like with like coverage and publications and people on TikTok and just like there's so many different ways to present yourself. Like, it's like overwhelming OD, but like what would you say is the biggest difference between being an artist in the blog era and being some like yeah you like the biggest difference between being an artist in the blog era and being an artist like right now, like what's yeah.
the biggest difference is, and this is why I fuck with you so hard, is writers. When writers are such an integral part of breaking artists, and I don't know if you guys know that, but you guys are like, to me, fuck the label. Like writers, people who love music and have a platform and that have access to share shit with certain people. Um, I don't take that shit for granted. I don't take that shit lightly, because without any of the people who wrote anything, articles about me, I like nobody would know who the fuck Lucille Ghatti is, in my opinion. Um, I miss that tremendously. Like I miss that, and I have so much respect for you guys because of that. I have so much respect for like I said, like for me, having a writer, and I don't even know if you call yourself like if that's like the correct term, but having a writer that really fucks with you off the strength of them fucking with you, and you didn't have to be sent like forced, or it wasn't like nobody, it wasn't something like a label was like, hey, cover this person or nothing. It was something genuine. That's what I fucking miss the most, of having that genuine connection where somebody was enthusiastic about the shit that you were putting out, and they just like it helped. Not only did it help you, but it helped them expand their catalog of their work and who they wrote and stuff like that. And I would say today that is the difference, because a lot of people just jump onto what's hot, and there is no like, it's like, okay, this has a bunch of viral views, and shit like that. And there's nothing wrong with that, because I like both sides of it. But I would say the biggest difference is having the writers being the stars, the forefront of, you know what I'm saying? Telling people what's hot. Like back then, it's like I could be on Pigeons and Planes, and people would be like, okay, you cool. Like, you know what I'm saying? Or X, Y, and Z. I remember John Carmanica wrote about me, and that was big for me. And because of who he's written for or who he's covered and stuff. And it's just like, it just expands you to a whole nother world, a whole nother set of, eyes and ears. And I miss that, because it keeps your longevity and it keeps your story alive. And then now I just feel like you can get away with not even having the story. You can get away with a lot of things. And sometimes people don't want to hear that. The attention span is really short, but I'm not opposed to TikTok at all. I think TikTok is kind of overkill on a lot of other things like social issues and you know, people's personal lives and stuff like that. But when it comes to the music, I definitely don't think there's anything wrong with it at all. And I do think that it is a powerful platform, but I just don't like the fact that it kind of takes, you know, the exposure out of the writer's hands and it puts it on just like the platform that, you know what I'm saying? I would like to see maybe more writers and stuff like take advantage of like they're putting their making their stuff go viral on there and kind of like breaking artists that way, because I do feel like the blog era had a lot of power in breaking a lot of artists, and I'm one of them. They had a lot of power in breaking a lot of artists, and it was very, very important and powerful. I remember everybody used to ask me, how did you get on those? Like, how did you do that? And I used to be like, I don't know. People just, you know, I just reached out to people and asked if they liked it or not. You know what I'm saying? And I just I just wanted to, you know, see if they did. And if they did, they did. And if they didn't, they didn't. But I think today, like you said, it's overkill. It is, it's overkill as far as like sometimes when a song goes viral, I don't know if this happens to you, but do you get sick of it really quickly? I get sick of it from seeing it on every single video, hearing it 24/7.
Depends on the song. Yeah.
You can get
and not and not even just like sorry.
No, go ahead.
Not even like it's not even like overkill for me most of the time. It's more just like it's just like overwhelming in the sense of like there's, you know, like as opposed to like in the blog era, it was, you know, like like obviously like Twitter and like MySpace was kind of dying out, and like Instagram was just starting to become a thing. Like there's just like there's just more avenues than ever before. You know, like there's Twitter, there's Instagram, there's Snapchat, there's TikTok, there's you know, like whatever sites are left. You know, like shout out to all the wonderful sites that employ me because I love y'all. But you know, like I just mean like you know, I just feel like the, you know, like the function has kind of changed in some ways, and there's just more ways to get at it than ever before, and that in and of itself is just extremely overwhelming and kind of scary. It's just a lot, you know, it's just a lot to dig through. And but to get to the overkill comment, like it's been some songs that I've started to get sick of sooner than I'd expect to, because I'm like, all right, like another one, all right, like another one, like it's
like 6 videos of this song, and it's like, okay, I really like the song, but now I didn't hear it like 50,000 times. I don't even like it anymore. And then another thing that also happens with that is just like, not only have I heard it so much, but like back in the day when radio songs were hits, like you would hear them like, you know, once or twice in the hour. You didn't hear them like every 5 seconds. So the longevity of those records lasted way longer. And I feel like the longevity of records nowadays is getting condensed. You see, I'm old, I'm saying records. They're getting like, they're going out faster than, you know what I'm saying? I feel like the longevity is just, it's not there how it used to be. But my main thing is the authenticity. Like, there's certain articles that people have written about me, and I can tell that they were extremely excited, like, to share this. And so their choice of words and the way they described it and all of that shit, like, that is what draws people into checking you out. You know what I'm saying? Some people back in the day used to say I reminded them of Young Police, and because you like Police, you'll go check it out, or you'll be like, damn, like, you know what I'm saying? But that authenticity, authenticity is gone. And I don't think we'll ever get that back, to be honest with you. And there's, like you, there are people who keep it alive. And that's why I'm like, you guys are extremely important, because if you guys don't do it, it won't exist anymore. Practically. Like, it's going to be hard to exist anymore. You know what I'm saying? Like, there are people who depend on reading your work for real to get new music, to discover new artists. There are people who really fuck with your mind and your taste in music, who specifically read your work to, you know what I'm saying? The same reason to come on, you know what I'm saying? So I feel like that's really the biggest difference, because on TikTok too, or not even just TikTok, on certain platforms, certain people don't even give a fuck about the songs, and they'll just post it on their video of them cooking because a million other people have posted it, and it'll give them some type of exposure. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that's crazy to me.
Yeah, it's a you know, it's a wild time out here. I just think it's really tight there are plenty of people I follow on TikTok who do great things with music, and they have like really good taste, and they're genuinely excited and ready to just like put on for the good shit. It's actually kind of really gratifying to see that kind of mutate and expand into a place like TikTok as opposed to just in writing, because
Yeah.
like everyone experiences this shit differently, and like we don't
Yeah.
all do the same thing, but like like we're all like, this is a I like to think of the press artist relationship as something that's mutually beneficial. Like that's basically what it is. Like we're, like you get covered because you have some sort of, either you have some sort of buzz, or you really really like this, or both. And like everyone, like in a perfect situation, everyone benefits from that. Like like sales and or streams go up, clicks on the
Right.
page go up,
Right.
everyone's
Yeah.
happy. That's the cornerstone of this whole shit. It has been for like 100 years, damn near. But
Yeah. As an
I'm
artist,
yeah.
yeah. I was just saying I agree. I agree. That's all I was saying.
uh, yeah, no, I'm just yeah, like at the end of the day, I'm just a person. Like we're all just people, and we just we're as enamored with this music shit as you are. And I'm just, like, I can only speak for me, but like I'm just grateful. I'm just grateful to be in a position where anybody would care about anything I have to say. And like the fact that people whose music I like so much like appreciate that and like want to talk to me about that. I don't know, that's just cool as fuck to me. I'm just a person. Like this is like you said, this isn't about me.
Yeah.
Like like I'm happy to be here and I enjoy my
Yeah.
job, but like this isn't about me.
Yeah.
Like this is about helping somebody discover something they might not like, or about giving context to something that there isn't, like just like properly contextualizing shit, and like being brave enough to critique something that everybody might like if you think there's something wrong with it. It's a lot of things. I just I'm
Yeah.
just a person, and I'm just happy to be here.
That also keeps me, like us as artists, aware of like things we can do to be better as artists too. So you having certain critiques on certain things, like I feel like there's a way to do it to where the artist doesn't get offended. And I feel like you guys do a really good job of that. But it also helps us stay on our toes as well. And it also helps us like never get complacent when people really like your shit. That's just how I feel. Never get complacent thinking like you've got it all in the bag just because it's getting this. Like, no, there's always something that you can improve on, do better on, create differently and stuff. So like I said, for me, with writers, the love that I have for what you guys do like stretches beyond. I feel like just it being like, what I'm saying, a music and a journalist relate journalism. Yeah, there we go. The music and a journalist relation, an artist and journalist relationship. It just goes to like, I can like kind of historically say that like these articles have been written about me and certain things like that. And that's very, very important to a legacy of an artist, extremely important to a legacy of an artist.
Right.
Even in today's world with TikToks and stuff like that too. And maybe I need to tap in with more people on those platforms so I can see, like, get exposed to more. And I definitely will. You just kind of like open my eyes to that. But like, for me, the blog era just never dies. It's the best one. You know what I'm saying? Like it's history.
Yeah.
It's literal history. I would not be Lucille Ghatti without fucking blogs. Like, fuck the music, fuck all the work, because you can do all of that shit and it would not matter unless you have a platform. I'm not saying it wouldn't matter, but you get where I'm coming from. Like, it wouldn't hit the
Yeah.
masses without the work that you guys do. So like you just said, as an artist, it's still never about me. It's a whole system that works together cohesively for it to exist. And I definitely feel like this should never ever be gone. I don't know. I it shouldn't replace any of it, but it should evolve definitely. And I do feel like TikTok helps it evolve for sure. And not just TikTok, but social media helps it evolve for sure. Yeah. But you guys are
Right.
like a very integral part of our careers, extremely, just as much as the fans are, for real. Like, I mean, just as much as like all of us are in this shit, for real. Yeah.
Yeah, no, we're just here to put on for good shit.
Right. And I feel the same way
Mhm.
too. Like, that's why I don't care about shopping this shit, because it's like, at the end of the day, I had to accept that. Like, I'm not a caricature of an artist. I'm an artist. So
Right.
I'm just happy to be here. Shit. I'm happy I have the strength to put out music.
Right. Yeah, no, that's an achievement in and of itself.
Right.
And, like, to formally wrap this up, Lucille Ghatti, if your life was a movie, what would it be about?
My life would be about, it would kind of be like Roxanne. It would just be about overcoming all kinds of shit. It would be I hate to say it would be what they say in church, of trials and tribulations, but no. My mom she has a saying that you have to go through the fire in order to come out gold. And I think that probably would be the title of it, something like that. Um, it would just be about, I guess, the magic of music. The the magic of music, overcoming circumstances in your life to be a creator and be an artist, and um also just, it would be also a dinky fashion movie. It would be a lot of fashion in that bitch. A lot of fashion in that bitch too, for sure, for sure. Yeah, it probably would be Elvis's movie. It'd be exactly like that in my opinion, except he was way more famous than I was, and he got a lot
And
more
you'd have
talent.
a lot more, right. You'd have a
Yeah,
lot
but
more rhinestones.
yeah,
You'd have a lot.
yeah. You know, it
Yeah.
might be circus. It might be the circus. It might be a circus. It'd be a circus exhibit. So I don't know. That's a good idea. That's a good thing for me to think about. I don't think about that for sure. Please, everybody, go watch Elvis's movie. Please. There's a whole lot of biopics you should watch, and you should add that one to it. That's my
Okay.
last one.
Yeah, no, I'm a definitely do that. So I feel you. Thanks for listening. Shout out to y'all for making it this far. And shout out to all the Black people listening too, because y'all really impeccable. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and tell a friend to come through next time. 1.